It's now almost a week since those first reports began to emerge from the Ireland World Cup training camp in Saipan. Captain Roy Keane, perhaps the world's greatest midfield player, certainly the player most responsible for Ireland's qualification for the World Cup finals, was threatening to abandon the side at the very moment he was needed most. Angry over what he regarded as poor preparation by the Ireland management, Keane was nevertheless persuaded to come back on board. But he publicised his frustration in a series of media interviews. Manager Mick McCarthy summoned his rebellious captain to a squad meeting. Harsh words were exchanged. McCarthy, believing his authority as manager was being undermined, decided to send Keane home. This evening, in his first major television interview since his dismissal, Roy Keane speaks about the events which led to his departure from Ireland's World Cup squad, how the controversy has affected him, and whether there's any possibility of him playing for Ireland in Japan. He spoke this afternoon to Tommie Gorman.
What I first want to do is to get you to put in context the reasons for your row. Was it bad blood between you and Mick McCarthy? Was it something deeper? Or was it because you were unhappy with the preparations of the Irish team for the World Cup and you always strive for perfection?
I think there's a lot of things. Obviously there's a lot been said over the last few days. I'm not really here to get anybody on my side. I think it's important that people know the truth. The final straw was when I was accused of being disloyal, faking injury and going against my teammates in front of everybody. And I wouldn't accept it, and I still don't accept that.
That, Roy, was the final straw, but what happened before that? Because the impression we have is of somebody who went over there, was looking to train hard, was looking to prepare for the World Cup, wanted to do well in the World Cup, and just felt that the training just wasn't going well. Is that the case?
Yeah, well, from day one when we got over there, again, the travelling was long, but you know, you accept these things, don't get me wrong. And the first night we got there, there was an evening meal, and Mick got Martin, the doctor, to speak about certain things, you know, to be careful of the sun and sunblock, of course, and what drinks to drink. And when he was talking about the drinks to take, he went, they're not here yet. And he continued, and I was sitting there and I thought, they're not here yet. And then Mick came back in, and Mick said about the training kit hadn't arrived. The training pitch wasn't as good as he thought. And as soon as Mick said that, I thought it must be bad. And there was no balls, of course. They should have been there on Thursday or Friday or something. I think this was on the Saturday evening when we got there, or the Sunday evening. And I couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. That's not being prima donna. It's not being pig-headed. That's just being honest. You know, we're preparing for the World Cup finals. And I was disappointed straight away with that. And again, I remember we walked outside, there was a few players, there was a bit of a laugh and a joke about it. But I went to my bedroom, I couldn't understand it. I couldn't. So I went to Mick's room that night, about half an hour later, and I asked him, I said, Mick, what's going on? I can't believe it. He says, well, you know, the skips should have been here Thursday or Friday. And I said, they should have been here 2 weeks ago. They should have been here 2 weeks ago, so there wouldn't have been any doubt. And I said, the training pitch must be bad. If you said it's bad, he went, oh, well, somebody let me down. They promised me a decent training pitch. And I went, what, you've trusted somebody that you're going to guarantee a training pitch when there's not even a football pitch in the island? And I says, I'm disappointed with it. And I left it at that. And he understood my feelings, because I had the same problem a few years ago when, you know, after a couple of years when Mick was the manager, I was disappointed with certain things. And I arranged to meet Mick. He came to my house and we discussed all these things, and he agreed with me that we need to improve in all aspects, preparing for a game, whether it be travel arrangements, training pitch, everything. And this was the first day we got there, and I thought, if this is the way it's going to go, what chance have we got? And of course the next morning we were ready to go train. There's no point bringing any boots because there was no footballs, there was no training kit. We had to wear the casual gear. We were around the hotel. And even I went up for a stretch in the physio's room, and a lot of the medical care wasn't there, and some of the lads couldn't have strap-ins. And again, it was a laugh and a joke, and I have a laugh and a joke. You know, it's quite funny sometimes. But even the lads had no strap-ins, and I remember Jason Mackett there saying, "No, use some toilet roll," and everyone was laughing. Again, I was laughing with it, but deep down I thought, this is not right, and I was fuming, to be honest. And of course we went training, and when I got to the training ground, pitch was a disgrace, absolute disgrace. And if anybody's been over there, if they say any different, you know, they're not in the real world. And even after training, I was talking to one of the liaison officers who was looking after the team when we got over there, I said to him, I said, well, do we have to maybe water it for us tomorrow? And he went, oh, probably. He says, to be fair, we weren't expecting you today. And I went, what? You must have known we were training. He says, no, nobody told us you were coming down. And that was the start of it. And I thought, here we go. But, you know.
Did you think that you had support for that kind of approach from the other players? Because they're professionals as well. They were looking to do well in the World Cup.
All the players were saying the same. All the players were saying the same to me. That's what I think, you know, when you're captain for a reason. And I made the point to Mick on the first night. I said, it's not good enough, Mick. And the next day the players, and again, it's a bit of a laugh and a joke, and I accept that, you know. But when we got there, it was so dangerous. I said from the start, I went, there's going to be injuries here. And of course, 3 days later, there was 3 injuries. It didn't surprise me one bit.
So, you threatened to leave, you wanted to come home, that was sorted out, and then you had this bust-up. And you were obviously very angry that you were confronted in public, as it were, in front of all the other squad members.
Yeah, without a doubt. On the Tuesday after I told Mick that I was leaving, and I did tell him for personal reasons, because I didn't really want to tell him that I'd had enough of playing for him. I really had, because when we trained on the Tuesday, again, the pitch. Anyway, again, that's the tip of the iceberg, to be fair. And I said I needed to go home. And again, that was supposed to have been a private conversation. We spoke to Eddie Cochran, who was going to organise the flights, and they promised it wouldn't go beyond the 3 of us. And an hour or 2 later, I met Alan Kelly, who says, oh, you're going home? And, you know, I thought, yeah. But of course, during the night, things were sorted out, to be fair, on that front. But I think Mick was disappointed that I'd put him in an awkward position, because, to be fair, he rang Colin Healy. And I told him I felt bad about that. I said, I felt sorry for Colin. And I said, look, I'll go home. And that was my last words to Mick, you know, leave it, don't ring him back. But the first thing in the morning, Mick Byrne came to see me, and he said, you know, you've got 3 minutes to make up your mind. I said, well, I'll stay. But I think a little bit was, I think Mick was put under pressure from the FAI of some sort. That's because I was speaking to my solicitor, and I spoke to Alex Ferguson during the night, and they told me to stick it out. And so from there on, I think Mick was disappointed, you know. But I felt I was entitled to change my mind. And I changed my mind an hour later to try and give Mick the chance, but he said he'd already spoke to Colin Healy 8:30 in the morning on his mobile. And I said to him, I said, by your body language, you know, you don't really want me here. And he said, no, but, you know, you've put me in an awkward position. I wish you thought about me. And I went, I feel quite embarrassed by it all anyway, you know, but I've decided to stick it out. But my last words were to him, you know, he left my room, and I followed him down and knocked on the door. Mick Byrne answered the door. I said to Mick, leave, and I'm going home. But of course, during the night, as I said, after speaking to 1 or 2 people, Mick Byrne came back to my room. He said, you've got 3 minutes to make your mind up. And I said, well, I'll stay. So that was that. And to be fair, on the Sunday or Monday when we got over there, I promised Tom Humphreys and Paul Kimmage, 2 reporters, you know, I'd have some sort of respect for, that I'd speak to them on the Wednesday. I wouldn't do a press conference, I think, till the Friday or the Sunday with all the other press. But these 2 lads asked me, and I said, yeah, I'll do it. And of course, the Wednesday, I told them my disappointments with things. And Thursday morning, Tom Humphreys rang me in my room about 6:30, 7 in the morning. But I was awake anyway. We were all waking up quite early. And he said, I'd like to go through this piece with you because it's going to print in a few hours. And I said, okay. And I met him downstairs at 8 o'clock, and I said, it's fine. No problems. And I went to print in the Times on the Thursday morning. The Thursday afternoon, you know, the storm clouds were gathering. I just knew it. Nobody spoke to me. Even Mick Byrne, who's I've been very close to in the Irish squad, I said to him in his body language, I says, Mick, I understand you have to be loyal to Mick, you know. He said, well, I've known you in a long time, but I says, no, you need to stick with Mick type of thing, you know. And I went for my meal at 6:30 on the Thursday, and I was told there was a meeting at 7:30. And I knew what it was all about. I knew. And
but Roy, do you see that from Mick McCarthy's perspective, this was a challenge to him? You were the team captain, he was the manager. Here was this article in the paper. Okay, maybe he made a mistake in bringing it into the public.
The article in the paper was fine. If anybody reads it, it's fine.
You don't think that it might have undermined the morale of the other players, that, you know, you'd be critical as a training preparation?
If you read it, it's fine. Anybody who read the piece, it's fine. I questioned the training facilities, which I said to Mick. And that was about it. Okay,
so that's your view, and you had your discussion with him. You had this angry exchange. Do you accept?
It was more than an angry exchange. It was the meeting at 7:30, and Mick came in, and I knew what it was about. He had a piece of paper. I knew it was the interview. He goes on to say, you know, some people are disappointed. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, right, just, you know, stay calm, because I know he was going to make the point. And I knew I said I'd stick it out, and I knew the next day we were going to a different place and it was going to be decent training facilities. And players that spoke to me, all the players, I spoke to Steve Finney before that, during the meal, and I said, how's your ankle? He said, lucky I was walking. He said, if I was running, I would have broke it. No doubts about it. And the other players that said to me they've not done enough training, because a few of them play in the first division, which finished 4 or 5 weeks ago. And 2 players off the top of my head said to me, they went, we've not done enough in 4 weeks. Now I know I was going over there and it's a relaxing trip. I appreciate that. And a few of the lads had a few nights out. I've had more nights out than anybody. And that's great. And I had a laugh the next day. They were telling me the few stories that went on. And I didn't mind that. You know, players need to let off a bit of steam. I accept that. But on the other hand, if you're going over there to work, let's work for that 1 hour a day. That's not asking too much. There's all sorts coming out saying I give people hell. I tell people the truth, and they think it's hell. And it's as straightforward as that. And then Mick started on about the meeting. And said, well, some people aren't happy with certain things, the travel arrangements. I picked this island he was talking about. I picked the training pitch, and if people aren't happy about it, and I interrupted him. I said, Mick, we should have done this in private, like we did the other night. I interrupted him. I said, Mick, just get to the point. He says, well, okay, I will. You know, you're not happy with certain things. I says, well, I told you I'm not happy with certain things.
Roy, do you accept that the language used wasn't very nice? I know Alex Ferguson has used expletives in his time. I know Mick McCarthy has done it as well. But do you accept that it's not the kind of language one expects from a leader of men?
Leader of men.
When it gets out.
Well, again, this was a private meeting. This was a private team meeting.
But even if it
I didn't call the press conference 15 minutes after the meeting. I didn't go and say what apparently people were saying.
But how about the actual language itself? Do you accept that it wasn't very complimentary to Mick McCarthy, and that he was justified in feeling hurt by it?
Justified in questioning my loyalty to my country. Asking the lads in front of me, saying the Iran match, I faked an injury when he spoke to my manager in front of me. He knew I wasn't right. I spoke to him, Alex Ferguson, on a Sunday morning. I hadn't played for 3.5 weeks. I played in the Saturday, we won 2-0. The manager said, right, that's a positive result. The flight, he hadn't played for 3.5 weeks, it wouldn't be good for my knee. That was the medical advice I had. Mick Byrne, the physio, came to my room the Saturday night. I told him it was a little bit sore. The Sunday morning, Alex Ferguson rang me and Mick was there, and I said, look, the manager wants me to go back because he classed it 2-0 as a good result. And Mick said, right, thanks for coming over. We knew you weren't quite right. He said that to me. And I said to him at the meeting, I said, you're a liar. But I'm still trying to stay calm at this stage. But I'm not going to accept that now in front of my teammates and the staff. And I won't accept it. I will not accept it.
But will you accept that if it was wrong on his side, in the language you used to him, that you were wrong, that you made a mistake maybe in going too hard?
If I felt for one second I was a little bit out of order, I'd apologise and I'd go back and I'd love to play in the World Cup. But I'm 100% right. I know I am. And that's not been arrogant or cocky. The last few days, it's been hard, of course it has been. Everybody wants to play in the World Cup. But things that went on in that room, you know, people knew, weren't happy with the conditions. Senior players agreed with me. They could have had their say and they just sat there. And I walked out of that room and I walked out of my career, my international career. Not one person backed me up, not one. And
does that not make you suspect that maybe in the language you used, at the very least, that you were wrong? Like, that's not the kind of language you'd want children to be hearing about.
Yes,
you're a role model.
It was a private meeting amongst grown men. It was a private meeting. These things aren't supposed to go out. That's why I went to Mick's room on the Sunday night. And I discussed it with Mick. I discussed it. And I said, Mick, I can't believe it. I can't believe we've come all the way. And the training pitch is the way it's supposed to be. We've got no training kit. Mick was the one who called it in front of everybody else. And said I turned my back on the players. And I faked injury not to go to Iran. When he knew damn well I wasn't right. And he spoke to my manager. So obviously there's going to be language. I wasn't going to sit there and say, excuse me, Mick, I think you're a little bit out of order. Of course you're going to use language. And I said things to Mick. And I'm 100% behind what I said. And again,
are you sorry for the way you said it? And it's not a sign of weakness if you say you're sorry.
I agree with you. But no. As I said, over the last few days, usually, no matter what you might do in life, you make decisions, whether it be moving house, moving jobs, getting your hair cut, buying a pair of shoes, and you might have some doubts, did I do the right thing? But the last few days, I don't feel, there's not one doubt in my mind where I stand, not one doubt. And that's good enough for me.
How about Mick McCarthy? There's a view in Ireland that he's an honest man, that he's a decent man, that as a footballer he was always honest, he always did his best. Do you go along with that view about him?
Mick's obviously had a very good career and he's done very well. And I personally wouldn't say I know Mick that well, you know. All I know is the dealings I've had with him. And to be fair, over the few years, my relationship with Mick, he's been very understanding in certain situations, you know, with friendly matches, you know, and coming in a couple of days late for certain matches, and he's been very understanding. And there was 1 or 2 games where he's let me go home for 1 or 2 days when we've been away for maybe 10 days with 2 international matches. And he's been very understanding. But all that came to an end the other night.
But do you respect him? Do you recognise that in the course of his career he put his foot in when it hurt, that he did his best for Ireland at every time, that he was trying to do his best as a manager?
Obviously I watched Ireland. I grew up watching him. And he done very well for Ireland, like a lot of other players.
And do you think he was doing his best as a manager?
No, I think he was at fault, but that's my opinion. And of course football is all about opinions. That's why it's a great game. That's why you get people in the pubs, everywhere you go, taxi drivers, it's all about opinions. I know that, and I accept it. But I'm entitled to my opinion.
I know, but we're not talking about how good he was. We're talking about his sincerity and his integrity in trying to do his best. Because that's the perception most Irish people have of Mick McCarthy, that he does his best.
Well, he probably does do his best.
You know, sometimes in life it can be very ironic, because it's said that one of the first rows you had with him was when you were a younger player, and when he bawled you out of it after you went out late. That's according to accounts I've read, accounts in which you've been interviewed. And do you not see the irony that here you are crossing swords with McCarthy, because one of the things that's annoying you now is maybe that fellas were going out late at night and maybe taking things too lax?
No, that didn't annoy me. I just said players need to go out and enjoy themselves. I heard them coming in 5, 6, 7 in the morning, and the next morning they told me all about it. It was great. And good luck to him. Good luck to him. I haven't got a problem with that. People make out I'm a loner and I lock myself in my room. I think I'm very approachable. A lot of the Irish lads I've spoke to, a lot of them have approached me, and I'm always willing to give people advice. But as I said, I've had my nights out, but I was getting ready for a World Cup. And as I said, good luck to them. They're entitled to enjoy themselves. I haven't got a problem with that one bit. I spoke to Mick, I remember we got there and there was a barbecue range on the Monday night with the press. But that's not my scene. That's not my scene. I said it to Mick. You know, there's people in the press I've had disagreements over the years. You know, and I felt I didn't really want to go, but I went. But Mick said, we want the press on our side, and I couldn't understand it. I really couldn't. But I went to the barbecue, but I went to bed about 9, 10 o'clock, and the lads went out. They had a great night. And good luck to him. Good luck to him.
There's this very soft side to you. I saw you the other day when you were being pursued by the photographers, and a wee laddie says something to you about Manchester United, and you smiled and you turned around to him and you said, thanks very much, son.
Yeah.
I saw your children waiting at the windows when you were coming home. They were delighted to see you home. Well, what about all the little kids in Ireland who have you as a role model, who love you, who would love to see you back in the World Cup, and who are absolutely appalled that this row has taken place and don't know what to say?
Exactly. Well, you know, do you think I've enjoyed the last few days? It's been hard. Of course it has. I'd love to play in the World Cup. I played in '94. It was fantastic. 8 long years ago. And I've done no more, no less than the other lads in the squad to get us back. And I would love to play. Of course I would. But, you know, again...
And everyone in the country, from the Taoiseach down, would love to see this resolved. You know, there are 13, 14-year-olds who tell their parents, I don't want to play football anymore, I'm depressed.
Well,
kids who wear your, you know, jerseys with your name on it, they're absolutely haunted by what's going on. They don't know what to make of it.
Well, that'll pass. People have to get on with their lives, you know. It's a football tournament. My loyalty was questioned. I was called a liar in front of a group of people. And then after that, of course, there was more to it. As I said, I didn't realise it was a press conference. I think within a half an hour, maybe less. And I know the kids in Ireland, and I feel bad for it myself. Of course I do. But I want to go back to Ireland. I've got my family over there. You know? But, you know, I have to stand up for what I believe in. I'll live and die by my actions. And I will continue to do so. I'll tell my kids what's right and what's wrong. But what happened to me was wrong.
But you're an Irishman and very proud of it. You know the country we live in. We know in the north we're asking people who have been at each other's throats for years and years to make compromises, to say I'm sorry, to put up their hands, to shake hands. And here we have our football team riven by division, destroyed by division. Is there no way that you, Mick McCarthy, the Irish footballers, can give people an example and show what people in the north and people in the country are trying to do, that you're prepared to do the same? Or is that alien to you guys?
No, it's not. As I said, if for 1 second, if I thought, since I got back home the other day, for 1 second I thought, maybe, Roy, maybe you were a little bit out of order, or maybe there's a way back, I'd be back on that flight. No doubts in my mind about that. But I went to my room and we had 3 players in a press conference. Within 20 minutes to half an hour of it. Sitting there behind Mick. We'd all spoke about it. People look at them as role models. They're cowards.
I know that in football, the guy who pulls out of a tackle or the guy who compromises is seen as weak, that he's not the kind of guy you want in a team. But in life, sometimes it's the guy who compromises, the guy who offers the apology, that he gains strength from that.
I agree with you 100%. Life's too short. Life's too short.
Would it not be a very big thing for you to do?
If I went back, I couldn't give 100% for my country. I couldn't. Under what circumstances? When players turn around and said they never heard anything like it in their lives. And I expect them to stick together. I'm well aware of that, you know. It's a squad and they're all backing Mick. But when they spoke to me, you know, when they had their chance to speak up, they didn't. But I can't worry about them all. I can look at myself, you know. I can look in the mirror and say, I've done the right thing. Nobody wants this. Of course, as you said, there's people all over the world and they're killing each other and stuff, you know. Nobody wants this. But I have to stand up for what I believe in, and I will continue to do so, you know.
But when rows are taking place, harsh things are said on all sides.
I agree with you. I've had arguments with it. You know, with thousands of people, my teammates at United, all the time. It's soon forgotten about. But when I go back to my room, and 1 or 2 players come to my room, 2 players came to, it was about Ian Hart came to say goodbye, fair play to him. Jason McAteer, Niall Quinn and Steve Staunton came, but at the time I didn't know they'd been to a press conference, and they thought I went too far, and I said, I respect your opinion, but, you know, I'm sticking to my guns. Alan Kelly came to say that he'd been to the press conference, which, again, when they were talking about a press conference, I actually thought they meant that morning. I thought they couldn't have had enough time to just speak to the press, but when Alan explained to me later on that night that they had it straight away, I thought, I couldn't believe it, but I thought, I better leave it going now because everything's done. And 2 players came to my room, and they said to me, so we respected everything you said, Troy. Everything you said, but we want to play in the World Cup. And I said, I appreciate your honesty, thanks a lot, lads. And they said, if there's any consolation, when you left the room, I think they said, Niall Quinn said, look, lads, we need to stick together, blah, blah, blah. And there was a round of applause, and they said, if there's any consolation, we didn't clap. And I thought, you know, fair play, lads, you know, but obviously the damage is done. The next morning, I heard them all leaving. They were leaving 8 o'clock. Mick Byrne woke everybody up. Of course, I didn't sleep too great. And I've been involved in Ireland since I was 15, Irish under 15, 16s, youth, 21s, the senior team. And I heard them all leaving. Mick Byrne knocked at the door and I opened. He says, we're away. And he shook his hand. I said, stuck his hand out and said, good luck, Mick. No, I felt I deserved better than that, you know. I know people in that squad a long time, staff as well. And when I walked out of that room in the meeting, a private meeting, but I knew that was the end of it. I knew there was no going back. Because, again, yeah, I've got my pride, I've got my principles, and I won't have anybody accusing me of these things. And people said I question Mick not being Irish, which is nonsense. Nonsense.
But Roy, there are signs up in shops all over the country. Come back, Roy. We want Roy Keane. The general election result was forgotten very quickly when this broke out. This is a huge talking country. And I'm sure everyone from your family to the people who have supported you over the years, they'd love to see you back. They'd love to see you make that gesture. They'd love to see Mick McCarthy make the gesture. They'd love to see the players make the gesture. They'd love to see the best representation of Ireland possible. And they think Ireland, without you, given the role you play to get us here, that it's not the country we want to follow. It's not the team we want to support.
Well, I just hope that people just get behind the team. I think that is the most important thing. I spoke to my family and they were supposed to fly over, but they're not flying now because they backed me because I told them what happened. I might be a lot of things, but I'm not a liar. And I told them. I had to arrange my own flights coming back. Things like that. I waited in the room for 2 or 3 hours. Nobody approached the room from the FAI. So that's why I rang United and asked them to book a flight to come back. I remember all these things. Nobody was in the room when I walked out, and people had an opportunity to speak. They had the chance and they wouldn't. They had the chance. I understand some of the younger players obviously not wanting to say, you know, because it was a heated exchange, of course it was. But some of the senior players, they knew the score, put it that way. And they let it all happen. And as I said, when I walked out that door, that was the end of it. That was the end of it. But the ball's not in my court, you know. And as I said, I didn't want to go through the media. I didn't want to be doing this interview today. I didn't want to speak to the Mail over the weekend. But I got back into London Saturday morning. My solicitor was there at 6 o'clock in the morning. And he said, Roy, you know, you need to say something because there's an imbalance to the story. And I thought, that was right. And I heard obviously some of the stuff that was coming up about me which wasn't true. A lot of nonsense about my wife. Nonsense, you know. And I thought, I need to speak out. That's why I'm doing the interview today, because the people of Ireland deserve to know the truth. But again, it's all about opinions, and people say I probably shouldn't have reacted the way I should. But in hindsight, of course, it's a great thing. But I'm human. And as I said, I think I was forced into a corner. I really was. That's my honest belief. And there was only one way I was going to come, and that was out fighting. There was only going to be one winner, and that was Mick, of course. And I understand that. He's the manager.
But sure, everybody is a loser in this current situation.
There's
no
so.
winner.
No, I think hopefully the team will do well. We've got some good players, and hopefully they will do well. And I'm sure they will.
Are you going to be here in Manchester or on holidays somewhere following the results? And in 10, 15 years' time, are you going to say to yourself, cripes, what was it all about? If only we could have sorted it out there and then, I could have played.
No. As I said, there's no doubt in my mind. Since I've come home, family glad to see me. It was good to be home. It was. You know, I'll probably go back to Cork next week for a few days. But as I said, my conscience is clear. It really is. As I said, I know I'm probably repeating myself, but if there was any doubt in my mind that, Roy, you're a little bit out of order, you know, you should have maybe held it back a little bit, I'd be back like a shot. But I won't accept it. I can't accept it.
Is there not a part of you that says, look, forget about pride. What's more important is going out and doing the best for the country?
I've done that many times. I've been doing it for years.
And yeah, you're prepared to do it again, or is there no hope of that?
The ball's not on my side of the court, you know. The ball's not on my side of the court.
If you thought that they'd take you back, that the players wanted you back...
They take me back?
Yeah.
What do you mean if they take me back?
If they thought that they'd love to have you in the team, that Mick McCarthy was prepared to bury the hatchet with you, that he was prepared to apologise, to meet you halfway, that the players wanted you back, what would Roy Keane, the guy who pulls on a green jersey, do?
I really don't know. Because I can't see it happening.
Yes, but say they were willing to do that. Are you still open to that kind of generosity?
You know, we'd have to see. We really would. As I said, I would love to play in the World Cup.
Because the country would love you back.
I'd love to be back. But as I said, it's up to other people. As I said...
are you willing to meet them halfway?
People weren't in that room. People weren't in that room.
Are you willing to meet them halfway? Are you willing to make any gesture? Because the country would love you back. And it would do so much to lift the morale of kids who will never have a chance.
I don't know. I really don't know. As I said, I need to stand up for what I believe in. And I agree with 100%.
What you believe in is representing kids like that a lot of the time. You know, you're the most honest professional in Old Trafford.
I understand all that. I understand all that. Couldn't agree with you more. But people weren't in that room that night. People weren't there in the morning when the players were leaving.
Yeah, but that's your argument within a group of players. But what about the country? What about the country that wants you, that wants to respect you, that wants to follow a team? You obviously feel torn by that.
I feel I've earned the respect to have my say. That's why I'm captain. That's why I made the points. But when you go in a team, you want players behind you. You need your teammates behind you.
Yeah, there is talk that there are some players now who really would want to have you back.
Maybe so, but maybe they're worried about their own reputations, you
No,
see.
maybe they're decent people who say Roy Keane is a good fella and that the country deserves to have the best team
No,
possible.
they are decent people, I'm not saying that. But they had their chance. They had their chance to speak last week, and I think deep down they're probably worried about their own reputations. Steve Staunton, Niall Quinn, Alan Kelly went to the press conference. They're senior players, they're experienced. It'd be different if we dragged 3 young players in. And they had their chance. Steve Staunton's obviously going to be the captain. He's returning after the World Cup anyway. Niall Quinn, he's returning after the World Cup. And Alan Kelly's returning after the World Cup.
Yeah, but you see how things can get misunderstood. For instance, you were the one who went and said you had personal problems because you were trying to protect Mick McCarthy.
I understand it,
right?
yeah.
Isn't that right?
That's right, yeah. But that was on the Tuesday.
Right.
And the
So
Wednesday
then-
morning, Mick had the Wednesday evening, Mick had a meeting and said everything's finished with. There was obviously things went on yesterday, especially with the argument with Packy and Alan. And it was forgotten about, and I agreed. I was speaking to Alan that night, and that was forgotten about.
But then the rumour mill was things were out of control because of this personal problem things. What were people to think? And they got the wrong idea, and the players didn't know what to think. And you can see how things got out of hand. These guys were not vindictively going for you to assassinate Roy Keane. These are guys who've played with you for years
I understand
and who
that,
like
yeah.
you.
I understand that. I understand that.
One point that strikes me is this time last year, GAA, a sport you love, Galway had a row in their camp. The manager fought with the Donnellan brothers. They lost the first round in the championship. They found a way to make up, to compromise. Galway went on to win the All-Ireland, and they all grew from that. Surely soccer, with all the professionalism in it, and all the values that you as a human being try to practice, surely you can find a way of showing the same kind of example.
Maybe. Maybe. But it's out of my hands. It really is. As I said, I'm standing firm on what I believe in. I'm standing firm because, you know, I've got the rest of, you know, I try to live my life as honest as I can. I've made mistakes, probably more mistakes than anybody. And I've done things that I'm ashamed of over the years. But I'm sticking to my guns because I believe, you know, my gut feeling is right. What happened to me last week was wrong. It was wrong. And you can go around the houses and talk about different things. But it was wrong. What happened to me last week, I wouldn't wish it on anybody. I felt I deserved better. Now, of course I lost my temper. People will tell you that, people who know me. But people make me out to be a monster and I'm a loner, and that's nonsense, absolute nonsense. But as I said, what happened last week will live with me for a long time. And I tell my kids, as I said, what's right and what's wrong. And what happened to me was wrong. So the ball is in other people's court. And gathered from what I've been reading the last few days.
That's what you've been reading, and you're actually talking about your
Well,
sense...
I saw Mick on the telly on Saturday. I saw him getting interviewed. That's why I'm doing this interview. A lot of the stuff's been in the paper.
Yeah, but you're talking about your sense of grievance. And
Sense of grievance.
Well,
I'm just
one
giving.
you feel you're
I'm not talking about
entitled
my
to.
sense of grievance. I'm giving my side of the story.
No, but, right, but you say what was done to you was wrong, and you've explained why. But aren't wrongs all relative things? And what about the sense of wrong to those poor people who save their money, who follow Ireland, who love you, who want to teach your kids, yes, you're right, he is a hero, he's a fantastic fella. What about the sense of confusion they feel, that ye guys can't sort this out as adults?
You're probably right, you know. As I said, I'm agreeing with a lot of your points. And I do realise there's kids in Ireland, there's people in Ireland, my family was supposed to travel and it's all got messy, but nobody wanted that, nobody. And as you said, maybe there is a way, maybe there is, but who knows, and we'll have to wait and see, you know. The match is Saturday, we're running out of time. But as I said, my conscience is clear, and that is the most important thing in my life, it really is.
But if the other parties in this come to you, the FAI, Mick McCarthy, a proud man, the players, if they come to you and say, for the good of the country, we want to find a solution to this, we'd like it to be playing for Ireland, are you willing to meet them halfway?
I want to play for Ireland. We'll have to see. Possibly, yes. But there's nobody who wants to play for much as Ireland as me. As I said, I've been involved since I was 15, 14, gone for trials up in Dublin. And this is what it's all about, playing in World Cups. So, hopefully, you never know. You just never know. But, no, we'll see.
It's hurting you, this.
Of course it's hurting me. Dead right it is.